If you don't connect the dots, you can't see the picture. And once you start asking questions, it takes you outside of the world we call human, where you start to see where all this control is actually ultimately coming from. When we look through our eyes, we are not seeing everything that exists. We're only seeing a ridiculously, ludicrously narrow band of frequency called visible light.
Every religion has talked about these places, whether it's nirvana. Humans have known this has existed since the beginning of time.
If I can start to unravel the nature of reality, why isn't it in the schools? Why isn't it on the television? It's because they don't want us to know, because it will open our minds, open our consciousness, and we'll start to see the true scale of the conspiracy to enslave our perceptions. What we're living is an induced dream. When the penny drops that this is a dream, and you know it's a dream, you can start living it as a dream. You stop getting pulled into the fears fed to us to hold our perceptions in a state of enslavement. When you reassess your self-identity, changing from body labels to I am all that is, has been, and ever can be. When you become conscious beyond the simulation, you look around, you go, I can see it now. Why couldn't I see it before? Because that was controlling you before. And what do we call that? Awakening.
Jesus, David, just when I thought there wasn't more you could teach us, you just open up like a whole nother bottom of the iceberg.
To know is to know you know nothing. And that is, whatever we know, there's always more to know.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is David Icke, the English author, broadcaster, and public speaker. For the past 34 years, you have been known as a professional conspiracy researcher, making it your mission to expose who and what is really controlling the world. Your research into prominent political figures, influential family bloodlines, global events, and the pandemic has received widespread criticism from the mainstream media. However, you have fostered a legion of fans who have grown tired of the government cover-ups, big tech censorship, and the global manipulation efforts that have become an increasing presence in our everyday lives. You have recently been banned from Australia and 27 countries in Europe after your appeal was thrown out by a Dutch court last week for, quote, posing a threat to public order. Exactly 1 month ago, London Real was completely deplatformed from YouTube, removing 12 years of work, 14,000 videos, over 1,000 interviews, 500 million views, and 2.3 million of our subscribers. You believe that we've reached a critical juncture for the future of humanity, where the fight to control the minds of the people has escalated through censorship and access to information. This will ultimately lead to a global dystopia unless we all unite and stand up against the tyranny that is threatening our freedom. Your latest book, The Dream, takes readers deeper down the rabbit hole than ever before as you reveal the true nature of our reality and explore the origins of human control. Back in 2020, you and I conducted an epic series of 5 record-breaking long-form live broadcasts, which fundamentally changed the world, allowing hundreds of millions of people access to an alternative narrative that was crucial in understanding the complicated and challenging times we faced. As I've said before, I don't agree with everything you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. David, welcome back to London Real.
Thank you, Brian. It's nice to be back. New building, same studio. Lovely.
It's great to have you here. I just want to start by reminding everyone that we are streaming live on our Digital Freedom platform, which is a censorship-free, independent broadcasting system built in 2020 that is of the people, by the people, for the people, and available exclusively on our website at freedomplatform.tv. I want to ask everyone watching now to please share the link via the sidebar to any and all of your social media channels, Telegram chats, or email lists. Let me repeat that. Can everyone watching please share this link now via the sidebar to any and all of your channels? This is important. Simply ask your friends and family to give us 15 minutes, and then they can decide. During our 5 conversations in 2020, nearly 75% of our viewers came from sharing this episode link peer-to-peer. So if everyone can please share this now to all of your contacts and platforms. David, I pledge to you and everyone watching this that none of this conversation will be edited, censored, removed, or banned, and that anyone in the world can watch the full version of this episode for free at freedomplatform.tv. Before we start, I just want to remind our viewers that here at London Real, we've been fighting for freedom of speech since 2011. We remain one of the few global media companies whose message is not compromised by advertisers, regulators, or big technology platforms. Let's start, David. Let's start with last night. You and me, we were on stage. There was the world premiere of our brand new feature-length documentary film called We Will Not Be Silenced. What did you make of the evening, the film, everything?
Well, I thought the film was great. I thought it was very well shot, very well edited, and it brought a lot of memories back. It's extraordinary how fast the world has moved. That what we're talking about 3 years ago?
Yeah.
It's a film about the events of 3 years ago in that crazy, crazy time, which they obviously want to bring back at some point. And it's like, it's a lifetime away. You know, it's like so much has happened because the world is changing so fast because they're heading towards the end game they've been working towards for so long, like amazing amount of time, what we call time. And the closer they get, the quicker it gets. So the faster this thing comes in. And it was a real memory jerker for me of a time, you know, there's lots of people now who it's now become acceptable or more acceptable, a much wider audience of acceptability to talk about these things, to talk about the COVID hoax and the COVID fascism. But doing it when almost no one else was doing it, that on the face of it was a real challenge to speak against authority, speak against the system. At the time, the system was playing out one of its major throws of the dice to move this agenda on towards global dystopia in a great leap. But I've been doing this a long time. This is my 34th year. And it's not something where you say, this is a real challenge, this. Or what's going to happen if I say this, if I say that? Well, I know what's going to happen. They're going to throw me off every platform going. But you don't go through that process. You don't go through that process of, what are the consequences for me of saying this? Because to ask that question is to contemplate not saying it. Right. And I refuse to do that. And, you know, the thing about speaking your truth at a time when it's absolutely unacceptable to do it is that when you say these things at that point, if they have validity, they will be eventually shown to have validity. And people will see and give you credibility for what else you're saying because what you said has turned out to be true. If you didn't say it, because it's like, what are the consequences for me? And oh my God, what's going to happen? Then when they happen, and you say, I knew this was, yeah, of course you did, mate, of course you did. So speaking your truth and having the the determination to do so and not to have anyone stop you doing it also has benefits if what you're saying has validity. And, you know, people have said to me over recent years, how do you predict the future so accurately? And I say, I don't. I predict what the plan wants to happen. My focus, my ambition, if you like, is not to be proved right. It's to stop it happening. And since the COVID era, while it was a very challenging time, and it did put a lot of people even more to sleep, a stunning number of people have started to awaken, because no one's awake. None of us are awake. We're awakening from the coma. Stunning numbers of people have started to get it at some level, what's happening in the world and how the world's not like they thought it was. And so when they play the card again, and in some way they're going to, we're starting from a higher base now. We're starting from a base that says, yeah, I can see what they did there, and I'm not having it now, as they play it again. And, you know, when I look back to when I started on this journey in 1990, and I look at the interest in this information, zilch, by the way, there was no alternative media when I started out, it didn't exist. And now I see the interest in it. We've made phenomenal strides, not least in the last 10, 5, 3 years. And there's a lot to be enthusiastic about and encouraged about, as well as, of course, every day seeing dystopia rolled out.
I love how we could show it, and the film really kind of focuses on the three conversations we had very early on, and it was March 18th, 2020, April 6th, 2020, May 3rd, 2020, when really nobody was talking about what was really happening. And like you said, we were very early to have those conversations.
Yeah, it was very good also because, being driven up here from the Isle of Wight, the streets were empty. There weren't any traffic, so it was good from that point of view. But it was also, I would look around, and I'd think, people have been telling me since I started talking about it in 1990, a few people can't control the world. It's not possible, mate. And I'm looking at the empty streets, and I'm thinking, how many people have decided this is going to happen? How many people have acquiesced to it? Tiny number, massive number. That's how easy it is. And what allows that tiny number to do that is the massive number acquiescing and obeying the little number. Oh, it's authority. You can't break the law. Watch me.
And that's what we did. I'm going to play a trailer really quickly from the movie. If people want to register for our online premiere, it's londonreal.tv/silenced, and I'm going to be taking it to different cities around the world and trying to premiere it in theaters as well so people can really see it. So we'll play that trailer right now. This is We Will Not Be Silenced, our latest feature-length documentary film. Here you go.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus.
Over the past few weeks, our entire world has been transformed.
You must stay at home.
Our freedoms have now been replaced with fear.
We need all the protection that we can get.
Now governments dictate what is allowed to be said. But today we will not be silenced. And 1 million people will be watching. I prepared my whole life for a moment like this, but nothing would prepare for what happened next.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is David Icke.
What happened after that broadcast, Brian?
London Real had an interview with David Icke, was removed from YouTube. If you take that guy off, you just make him bigger.
What the hell just happened?
Have you ever lost the only thing that makes you feel alive?
You are only one piece of content away from termination.
This is the story about how we got censored.
There is no COVID-19.
How we put everything on the line for what we believed in.
They picked the wrong guy to fight with.
How we were betrayed.
Fuck the BBC.
How we fought back.
We are freedom, and we'll accept nothing less.
And expose the truth.
Who benefits? He who most benefits from a crime is the one most likely to have committed it.
Who is telling me what I can and can't say?
So it will never happen again.
I want to be with Brian Rose and David Icke. That is the future, and that will never be defeated.
I am more powerful than they are, and they frickin' know it.
And so there's a little bit of a sneak peek of the film. The reception last night was intense. It was a sold-out theater, and it felt like a variety show in there. People were laughing and crying and hooting and hollering.
Yeah, it was great. And you know, one of the great joys of my life is to be among awakening people, because they're different. You know, all those massive marches in London in protest at the restrictions, they weren't, you know, I've been on protest marches all my life, you know, things like that. That was different. The atmosphere was different. The people were different, because they'd reached a state or a point of awakening where they were starting to see the world different. They were starting to see each other differently, starting to see themselves differently, the most important of all. And it was such a joy. And last night, it reminded me of those marches, because the energy and the kindness, the niceness of people there was fantastic.
Yeah, it was excellent. So I'll be hitting a few other cities around the world and premiering that. Again, londonreal.tv/silence, just to stay up with that, pre-register, all that. Let's talk about your world a little bit. I think last week it was upheld in court that you have now been officially banned from visiting the entire 27-country European Union. Can you tell us a little bit about the details of that?
Yeah, well, the judge that made the decision clearly swapped a spine for a jellyfish, because the decision was ludicrous. It was absolutely political. Just some background. I was asked by a group in the Netherlands last year, involving a Jewish guy called Mordecai. He's become a great friend of mine. He's really been pushing with a lawyer, a fantastic lawyer, and others to challenge the ban. I was invited to go and speak for 20 minutes, half an hour max, in Amsterdam at a peace rally. It was a peace rally saying, can we sort the Ukraine war out, please? Because this is crazy. You know, let's people get around a table or something. Of course, that's not the idea. And furore is not the word. All hell broke loose. That's another way of describing it. The justice minister, and I don't know what the Dutch word for justice is, but whatever it is, it's a misnomer if you're calling her a justice minister. She used parliamentary privilege to call me a Jew hater. The media went absolutely bloody crazy for 3 weeks. And all these major mainstream programs in the Netherlands were demonizing me. And I'm thinking, I was just asked to speak at a peace rally. What's going on? And not once did they ask me for a comment. I mean, if you're going to demonize me, get me on the show. Let me have a word. No invitation at all. So what happened in the end is they found a way of banning me. Now, because the Netherlands is in something called the Schengen border group, When you're banned from one, you're banned from all of them. And currently, it was 26 when the ban happened, but now it's 27. Croatia's come into it. Romania and Bulgaria are coming into it by the end of the year, I think, so I'll be banned from 29 countries. I'm already banned from Australia. And lots of other countries use the Schengen criteria and therefore won't let you in if you're banned by the Schengen group. So we challenged it. And the judge who was overseeing it admitted in her judgment that the law under which I was banned no longer exists. In March of this year, the Schengen group dropped a regulation through which I was banned. And the judge said, I'm going to give my judgment on the 31st of July. Just before that, I'm knocking it on 10 weeks. And at that point, I thought, okay, here we go. So she took the whole of the 10 weeks and then the judgment a few days ago and said, yes, that the law under which he's banned no longer exists, but it did exist when he was banned. And the other thing is, the government lawyer, who, he's not the brain of the Netherlands, that's for sure, I tell you, looking on. And he said in the court hearing that if I don't change my views, because the ban's for 2 years, if I don't change my views at the end of the 2 years, and of course I'm not bloody going to, then the ban could be indefinite, right? Talking of the film, the documentary, it covers a period where, as a result of our conversation and me in the second interview calling out the whole COVID hoax massively on every level, in April 2020, I was banned from YouTube, banned from Facebook, banned from all of them, Spotify, all of them. Ofcom told the broadcast media in Britain that they couldn't have me on. Well, I've never appeared in the mainstream media in Britain since then. Banned from Australia, like I say. And I have to say, I've watched events of the last 2 weeks with a little shake of the head. I'm talking about Russell Brand, and, it's like he's been demonetized from YouTube. It's outrageous. I was demonetized from YouTube in 2018 and thrown off in April 2020 and all the rest of them as well. And banned from now 27 European countries, banned from Australia, banned from a lot of other countries if I try to get in. And that's, the what I call the mainstream alternative media, and the kind of big names that have, emerged, a lot of them since COVID, so-called big names, they're like outraged. Oh, it's a good free speech. Well, look, YouTube should not have done it. Of course, it's outrageous, but let's have a bit of perspective here. And I've got increasingly concerned as the COVID era has unfolded that the alternative media is being hijacked by what I call hear and no further people. And this doesn't mean that they're doing it knowingly, but there's a barricade I can see. I talk about it in one chapter of The Dream. There's a barricade being built around the alternative media, and it has certain names in it, and it's very 5 cents focused. So they're looking in at the 5 cents world, and that's the alternative. So you've got Russell Brand. He's basically in the 5 cents level, and the thing about Russell Brand, he had me on some of his like comedy shows years ago, and I went on because I thought, I'm not getting access anywhere else, so let he who have ears, let them hear, So maybe I'll get something out. But it wasn't easy because he weren't really interested in putting this information out. I was sitting there and he put pictures of famous names on the screen and say, is he a reptile? Is he a reptile? You know, your heart bloody sinks, you know, trying to get some serious information over. And it came to the point where I was on the end of a phone into a radio show that he was doing. And there was, Noel Gallagher was on it and a guy called Noel Fielding. And it got so ridiculous. I wasn't on for long. I was meant to be on for longer. Because it was like, am I a reptile? Am I a reptile? And I actually lost it a little bit, to be honest. And the interview was shall we say, ended earlier than expected. And I made the decision at that point that I would not do anything with Russell Brand again. I would not go on any show of his again, because it was a waste of time trying to get serious information across. And so I was quite surprised that he suddenly, after the COVID era hit, all that was happening, that he suddenly became a quote conspiracy guru. And you know, the point is that all the allegations against him, I'm not even going to go there because I don't know. I mean, nobody, who knows, right? Only the people involved know, and the police sort it out if the police are going to sort it out or whatever. That's not any area that I'm going to go into because I don't know, you know. And people in the alternative media, in this barricade brigade, who have jumped to say, oh, their allegations are false. Well, you don't know that. With the alternative media, we deal with evidence, don't we? I mean, don't having a go at the mainstream media, should do, saying, oh, you just repeat the narrative. Well, hold on a minute. We're not going to do the same, are we? Let's let the evidence roll out before we start making judgments. My point on all this is not that will take care of itself. It's this barricade of here and no further. And also the point that what Russell is putting out is to people like me, it's old hat, right? It's in the sense that other people have researched it, and it's very kind of very mild compared with what there is to say. And you know, it's something that I've been looking at now for a couple of years or so, where you've got this, it's almost takeover of the alternative arena of 5 cents, what I call here and no further people. So you have got Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson I've got enormous respect for, because all these kind of, the Tucker Carlsons and these other barricade people, as I'll call them, we'll come to some of them in a sec. I'm not saying they haven't got a contribution to make. You know, I'm open to, and delighted when anyone's putting this stuff out. The point is, if you don't connect the dots, you can't see the picture. And all these different people have a dot, but they don't have the picture. And this is all part of this barricade. And so you look at Tucker Carlson, and when he was on Fox, the first thing I used to watch every morning was the Tucker Carlson show from the previous night, because he was taking the perspective of politics, etc., to a not the expanded level, but a much more expanded level. And that was good on him, and what he's doing now, you know, good. But it's still 5 cents centric, and it's still looking in on the 5 cents world and talking about the political system and the systems of authority within the world of the scene.
So it's very point specific. He'll interview Obama's gay lover, and there's a whole reaction around that. Or Russell Brand will talk about another 5 cents point, and there's a big reaction around that. And everyone says, "Oh wow, thank God for the alternative media." Yeah, exactly. But they get stuck there.
Exactly that. And the thing about Russell Brand, you know, if you want a masterclass on clickbait headlines, go through his Rumble videos, because the clickbait headlines.
Does he regurgitate stuff that
are phenomenal.
you did from years ago?
It's regurgitation, yeah, exactly. And then you look at Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has picked up on something I've been writing about for a while. He's picked up on a specific area. Now, it's an important area, and that is the way masculinity is being removed from the male. The point being, though, that when masculinity, toxic masculinity and all that started, I said they're going to come for the women next. And they've started to come for the women. And there's a reason for that. You know, the word that opens up everything and takes you through the glass ceilings to the next level and the next level is a simple question. Why? Okay, they're targeting the male and they want to delete masculinity. They want to delete that. I'm not having it. Okay, question, why? And then they start coming for the women. Why? What's the connection? Because there is a connection. Maybe we can get into it as we go along tonight. And so Andrew Tate has picked up this area of taking masculinity from the male. This is why sperm counts are dropping. This is why testosterone levels are dropping all across the world. This is systematic. So that's good that he's focusing on that. But if you at the same time equate masculinity with having a bloody Bugatti or having lots of money and, you know, being macho man, well, you know, for me, that takes it across the balance point to another imbalance point. And, you know, I was laughing the other day. I caught a video by Andrew Tate in which he said basically that he's been predicting the future. He said, I was talking about the Matrix 2 years ago, he said, right? What? I was talking about it 30 years ago, and you don't know what the Matrix is, mate. These are just words. Oh, it's the Matrix. So what is that? I hope we can get into it because I talk about that in the dream. What is this Matrix? What form does it take? Why does it exist? And so what you're looking at is people, and they become the big names, you know, and they get massive numbers and followings.
And canceled, and Andrew is potentially going to prison for 10 years.
Yeah, but you look at it and you see dots. You don't see dots connected. So another one, and all these people have come out in support of Russell Brand, and that's okay, that's their choice. But it's a bit early to start making judgments, like I say, on things that we know nothing about, because we don't. Another one is Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is not the alternative media, it's an alternative Republican Party. It's 5 cents centric, and it's looking into American politics and analyzing American politics, which is fine. I don't have a problem with any of these people doing what they're doing. I have a problem with the fact that they are together, and I would bring Jordan Peterson into that as well. There's some very interesting things to say about psychology. Again, it's another area, another dot, very interesting stuff. But in terms of the big picture, he hasn't got a clue what's going on, frankly.
Right.
And so you've got all these different people in what I call the barricade, and they're all making their contributions. And, you know, I say, okay, fine, yeah, no problem, yeah, good. But
better than the BBC.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and actually, interesting you should mention that, because another one of these barricade organizations is GB News in Britain. You know, this is something that is kind of important to point out. During COVID, right, there was a build-up of rejection and a build-up of awareness that the world wasn't like we thought it was. Some of us could see it before because we did the research, but more and more people could see that. And you saw with the COVID protests in London, started off with a few people. They were picked off by the police. And in the end, there's hundreds of thousands of people walking through London, and the police are standing on the side of the road just watching us go by because there's nothing they could do. The numbers were too great. And there comes a point where, if you like, the resistance needs to be, it needs to have the steam taken out of it. So what you do, you don't keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because if the resistance gets to a certain point, of massive, massive penny drops in the population, hey, authority doesn't have the power. We have the power. Their power is our acquiescence to their power, our illusion that they have power, but actually the power they're recycling against us is the power we're giving to them in the form of acquiescence. That's their worst nightmare, this global cult I talk about. That people will grasp that. And when you've got the hundreds of thousands of people in London, for instance, we're starting to get there. The police, were bashing people with bayonets at one point, and now they're standing on the side of the road watching us go past because it's just too many people, right? Mm-hmm. The power dynamic was on public display. So you take the steam out. And that's something that I've seen happen with this, if you like, the barricade. It's like we can't get everyone to believe what we want them to believe. So what we'll do is we'll give them people and organizations, and I include GB News in this, if not consciously, then by what it does. We'll give them a bit of an alternative to keep them happy. Okay, this is alternative. And people in this, what I call mainstream alternative, the barricade, they will say some interesting things. They will say some things that people will go, yeah, I agree with that. Well, it's nice that someone's saying it, right? But only to a certain point. So if you look at GB News, I mean, current events is there to be seen.
They just threw Lawrence Fox off for making his kind of comments about that female, and then they threw off Dan Wooten, and then another guy, Calvin, someone off there.
Well, there was the first one was Mark Stein, who was thrown off because he got too close to the truth on climate change. He's done a heck of a lot of research on climate change. He knew what he was talking about. And he was getting too close to the truth. He was saying too much. Ofcom wasn't happy. Well, that's confirmation you're on the right track when Ofcom's not bloody happy. Started by Tony Blair, by the way. That's how bad it is. And they manipulated him out. If you go so far, and it's not very far into the alternative, GB News, but it's better than the BBC. And then, if anyone goes too far, they're out. So it's a fake alternative, really. Right. I mean, when you've got Conservative members of Parliament as presenters of GB News, it ain't alternative, but it can appear so to some people. And of course, it's nice that certain questions are asked that aren't asked by the mainstream. But this is what I mean, Brian. This is why it's so important. Here and no further. And so what I'm doing in the last two books, The Trap and the Dream, is my question all the time has been, why? And why is this happening? And okay, we can see the Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, level of this, the World Economic Forum and all this stuff. But what's that part of? What is controlling that? And when we get there, what is controlling that? And when you go through that process, you realize that the Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates level of this is minute compared with the full scale of actually what we're part of. And if we don't understand that, if we don't grasp the true scale and the true nature of human control, which is all founded on perceptual control, then we'll be poking around in the symptoms. Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and all this stuff. Trudeau, all the rest of them. We're poking around in that, but we won't see, A, what that is just a small part of, and B, how we can bring this house of cards down, because that's all it is. And you know, the film was about censorship and being silenced. And the foundation reason for censorship is control of perception. Because if you can control perception, you've got behavior. We behave as we do because we perceive as we do. People meekly went under house arrest in the COVID period because they believed what authority told them, that there was a deadly virus and they had to stay at home to protect themselves, protect other people. And then they were lined up having the jab, the fake jab, the so-called vaccine that's not a vaccine under any previous criteria or definition of a vaccine, the synthetic material being put in the body, and there's a reason for that, which is much bigger than most people grasp. But they did that because they thought, because authority told them, their perception was the jab will protect me from the deadly virus. And other people who really didn't want the jab said, well, I've got to have it because I'll lose my job if I don't, right? And so you had the perception of a deadly virus, and what followed was the behavior as a result of that of fantastic numbers of people to do what authority told them. And then you had the few at the start, much more now, who looked at it and thought it's a scam. And I'm not having anything to do with it. I'm not playing the game with a scam. Their perception of COVID was different. So what else was different? Their behavior. You know, I mean, they said, oh, you can't go out for more than an hour a day. I thought, bloody watch me. You can't do this, you can't do, watch me. You know, walk down the street and people are going around you. I didn't go around anybody because I wasn't frightened of anybody. But they were frightened of me because they were frightened of everybody. And so they did this big turn around you in the street and you just shake your head. The point being that the behavior of those two very different behavioral groups came from the two very different perceptions of the COVID hoax, the COVID scam, the COVID narrative. And it's the same with every perception. So you go another step back. Behavior comes from perception. Where does perception come from? It comes from information received. So it could be the BBC News, if you're really crazy. It could be a post on Facebook. It could be any source of information. It could be a personal experience. From these information sources, you form your perception. And from perception, you form your behavior. So control of the information from which people form their perception is absolutely crucial to this sequence. And therefore, if you want them to believe a narrative, perceive a narrative, behave on the basis of that narrative, then you don't want other narratives that could give people a different perception of a situation, the world, or self-identity. You don't want that circulating. And that's the foundation of censorship, and that's why it's getting fiercer and fiercer and fiercer, to the point where, as I predicted a long time ago in the books. What they want is a point where no one will ever see or hear anything that isn't authority approved. And we're, of course, moving towards that.
Is the online safety bill a step towards that?
The online safety bill in Britain is a massive step towards that, because they've given this, I mean, I love it. They say, Ofcom is independent. Okay, so who appoints the person in charge then? Oh, the government? Oh, right, that kind of independence. Gotcha.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website, londonreal.tv, or click the link in the description below.
Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.